Bill. It's a pleasure. Great to have you with us here. First off, let me start with a theory. I actually think that even if they don't make the playoffs, I think part of the Angels' deal with the trade with the White Sox is to kind of show Ohtani, listen, Shohei, we're doing everything we can. We want to win as much as you. So if it doesn't work out this year, it will work out in the future, and maybe that helps them decide to stay. What's your take with that first? Let me hear.
Well, they've really been doing that for a couple of years. You look, for example, at the past winter. They brought in Hunter Renfroe. They brought in Brandon Drury. They brought in Tyler Anderson. They brought in Gio Urshela. They've been trying to bolster the roster to get to the playoffs this year for more than a year now, really. It's been the goal. And as much as they would like to erase the stigma of, no team has been out of the playoffs longer than the Angels, of course they want to keep Ohtani, and they know he wants to win.
But if you do it in the off year, you got 162 games. They did it with 2 months to go, 4.5 back, when there was some debate of whether they should trade him. I think it's a little different now than, say, in January. You agree with that or no?
I think that's fair. I mean, certainly there were plenty of people who said, oh, the odds aren't great and the Angels should trade Ohtani. And there's two things to that, I would say. Number one is, if you're going to trade Ohtani, you're going to trade him to a contender, of course, because the team that gets him only knows they're having him for 2 months till free agency. So what are you going to get? You're going to get prospects, because the team that's in contention isn't going to trade you players from their major league roster because they're in contention. The Angels are not rebuilding. They have never really rebuilt. You can argue whether that's good or bad, but they don't rebuild. They've got Mike Trout still here next year. So if you go to the Angels and say, we're giving you our best prospects in single A and double A, that's not going to work. But the other thing is, and this is just maybe my personal feeling, we've gone way too far in regarding baseball as an issue of asset management rather than entertainment. The Angels are trying to win. They don't want to have 3 or 4 or 5 years of 100 losses in a row before you hit the jackpot, which you may or may not hit depending on your draft picks. I don't think that's such a bad thing. They're trying to win. Yay, right?
Fair, 100%. I mean, you'd like to see him stay too. Do you think, what sort of percentage would you give the Angels, regardless of this next 2 months, what sort of percentage do you give the Angels of being able to re-sign him? 10%, 15%, a little higher, no chance? You follow him, you know the particulars, I don't. What's the percentage?
I mean, look, I could spin a wheel like I was on Price is Right, and whatever number comes up, I could probably make a case for that, because the only person who knows is Shohei Ohtani. But I can tell you that I talked to some Angels folks, this year early, back in spring training. And they said, look, we don't know what's going to happen, but we want to do everything we can to keep him. And we'll tell you, he likes it here. He's comfortable here. He lives by the beach in Southern California. I mean, who doesn't like that, right? The Angels have accommodated what he's wanted over the years. Remember, he had a terrible spring training the first year he came over, and some teams might have sent him down. The Angels didn't do that. They worked with him to accommodate his schedule, whether it was going to be to add additional rest, to not hit and pitch on certain days, to now where he just does everything and does it better than anybody else. He doesn't have any complaints here. He just wants to win. Whether Ohtani thinks he can win here in the long run is a question only he can answer. But I think to say the Angels are completely out of the question, I wouldn't say that.
All right, next 60 games. They got a brutal schedule. I think they got a chance because I like the rhythm of the team. I like the cause aspect. They're actually playing for something more important to make the postseason. They're playing to keep Ohtani, maybe in Anaheim. I could see them here. Now, they got a hard schedule. 47 of their last 60 against teams over 500. I understand that. But I could see the Angels sneaking in and getting one of these spots. Do you see that or no?
Oh, they absolutely could. I mean, they're basically where the Phillies were last year. And the Phillies got to the World Series. They got the last spot in the playoffs, and then they got to the World Series. Phillies, I think, won 87 last year. I don't think there's any reason the Angels can't do that.
Right, I agree. They won 87. All right, let's go shift now to the Dodgers for a second. They made 2 moves to get middle infielders. You got to figure they're going to get a pitcher. A lot of folks thought they were in on Giolito. And they're in first place. They got a very good team. I don't know if they're a championship team. Maybe Buehler will help them if he comes back in September out of the bullpen. What are the Dodgers going to be active about in these next 72 hours? What can you tell me there?
Well, we had a story my colleague Jorge Castillo posted yesterday about their interest in Nolan Arenado. It's legitimate. It's sincere. They've talked to the Cardinals. That's probably, a long shot, given that the Cardinals do not have to trade Nolan Arenado. And of course, he's a great player. So there's no great incentive for them to do that. The Cardinals would want young pitching back. The Dodgers pitching right now is not in great shape. Every member of their opening day rotation has been on the injured list at some point this year. If you have a chance to get a great player like Arenado, I think you pursue it, of course. Teams talk about lots of things that we never even hear about. So if a Cardinals or any other team is rebuilding and you like players on their roster, of course you make the phone call. That said, pitching is still the number one need. And with Giolito off the market, that takes maybe the best rental player off the market, but it certainly doesn't take all the starting pitchers off the market. And I think that would be the number one place for the Dodgers to improve.
All right, I'll ask you this, and this is, I guess, this is just your theory. I'm interested in what you say here. If Ohtani decides to leave the Angels, do you think there's something to the idea that he would not want to give Anaheim a double whammy by signing with the Dodgers? I mean, that's crippling that organization. I mean, geez, you leave, and then you go join the Dodgers 30 miles up the road. And so maybe he won't want to do that to him, and he then would maybe go to San Francisco or Seattle. Do you think that the idea that the Angels have been so good to him and leaving will be tricky, that he won't want to compound the harm by going to Chavez Ravine? What's your take on that?
Well, again, Shohei is the only one who knows for sure. But to me, if he's going to be loyal to the Angels, you might as well just go sign with them, right? And if he's decided that the Angels are not the best fit for him, he can say thank you. He's earned the right, as any player has who goes into free agency, to sign wherever he wants. And if that's Dodger Stadium or somewhere else, it's his choice.
Yeah. No, I get it. But the Angels have been good to him. So, I mean, despite the fact they haven't won, as you just said, he's been comfortable there. And then to say, you know what, I'm leaving, and I see you up there 30 miles to the north. Boy, that's tricky. Well done. Bill, thanks for giving us a few minutes. Keep up the good work. We'll keep in touch. Appreciate you coming on today.
All right, take care.